Now? Hey. Okay. Thank you, man. All right. What's going on, folks? My name is David, and I'm welcoming you to the Most High Show. If you're unfamiliar with the Most High Show, this is a platform where we are doing our best to end the stigma of addiction and end the stigma of God. This is like a place of spirituality where we talk about recovery, and we have people come on and share their real stories about recovery, the struggles of recovery, the joy of recovery. We got a guest producer, Emmanuel, on the ones and twos today, and we are going to be coming back after this introduction. I'm going to have a mystic moment with my brother Christian after this. Emmanuel.
Welcome to the Most High Show, a show about recovery, spirituality, and all that. Produced, posted, and hosted by people in recovery who have strength and hope and want to share it with you. If you or someone you love is suffering, we want you to know you are not alone. This is the Most High Show.
And we're live.
All right, folks, welcome back. That was our intro. Everything, by the way, all that is done by my brother Christian. The setup, the music, all that. So this is all his creative masterpiece that we are on a weekly basis. So what we do after the intro is we have a thing that we call the mystic moment, and the person bringing in the mystic moment is my brother, the Reverend Christian Jansen.
Yo.
What's up, man?
What up? I love
What's
your
happening?
intros.
Well, thank you. I'm trying, man.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get better.
All
So
right.
you have the mystic moment. And
Yeah.
I love these, by the way. These
Thank
are
you.
cool.
All right.
Keeps me on my toes.
Well, here we go.
Here we go.
So we're coming out of the Bad Griffith, a new creation in Christ.
Amen.
Bad Griffith was a Benedictine monk born in England, educated in Oxford. After 20 years as a monk in England, he went to India, 1955, to find the other half of his soul.
Wow.
In 93, after 38 years in India, he died at an ashram that he had directed for many years, which he established as a center for people of different religions and traditions to meet in an atmosphere of prayer and meditation.
Wow. Like a holy ground.
Yeah.
Come as you are.
Yeah. There's actually a little documentary, some independent film made of him.
I know I've seen his face.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like on Hulu or something, but I've seen his face, so I'm
Yeah.
interested.
So I'm going to read out of one of his chapters here in the early on. He says, all right. Because of our Western prejudice of excessively educating the mind, we are in danger of our religion being only in the head. Meditation should be a way of bringing it down from the head to the heart. The fathers used to say, bring the thoughts from the head into the heart and keep them there. The heart is the center where the head joins the rest of the body. And so, in taking us from the head to the heart, our meditation involves and renews our whole being. We begin to see now what is the meaning of a new creation. Here we go.
All right.
It is to transcend the separate self with its illusionary images and desires to encounter reality, the reality of our own being and of the world in which we live. It may sound very easy to encounter reality, but it is prevented by the images which we project. We're still going. Okay. Scientists today tell us that the entire three-dimensional world is all a projection. The world is a field of energies vibrating in different frequencies, and within that field there are various structures or forms in which we interpret as a three-dimensional universe. But this universe is a projection, and so, in a sense, an illusionary appearance beyond which is reality. Prayer, meditation, is the way to get beyond the appearance and to touch reality. The reality is God, who is always revealing himself behind all appearances.
Oh, man. That's a big topic.
Well, I had to go extra mystic because I'm also the guest.
Yeah.
So I was like trying to play two roles tonight.
So you want me to go off of that, or you want to go first?
No, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
All right. Well, the first thing, it's like when you first started reading it, because this organically just through the words that he's saying kind of like takes you out there.
Yeah.
Like makes you see like behind the curtain type of imagery in my head. I think a lot about perception. You know what I mean? As a counselor, I'm always trying to, when I meet somebody in their struggles, I'm always trying to get them to be in reality, in the reality of the moment. What's factual, what's happening right now, where are your assumptions like mixing up what's actually happening. But reading that, like from what you wrote, it's like, man, it is, a perception. I mean, our eyeballs are just lenses and seeing things within its capabilities. It's not really like that.
Yeah.
And that's when it starts to get kind of fuzzy to me.
Yeah.
But the save of all that, when I feel like, in that reading, I feel kind of like it's like beyond my control type deal.
Yeah.
But the save in it is God.
Right. God
grounds this whole illusion of what we perceive as reality.
Right.
And what we see and say, that's real. That's reality.
Yeah.
Am I on the right track?
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but
I always say this to you.
I think E-Man's asleep at the wheel.
Come on now. Come on, man. Stay with us.
Well, I think
We'll
the
sit you up
reading
here.
got to E-Man because he was staring out like he saw something that wasn't here.
Right.
Yeah, I think.
I remember you guys having a good discussion one time, and it was clipped.
Yeah,
that was a good talk.
Yeah,
I feel like it's on the same ball field of this discussion.
Yeah, because I would think, like, if I was to put it in my words, I would say, because it is a struggle when someone starts talking about what we know, the material world, as being illusionary, it loses me a little bit.
Right.
For a couple reasons. One, it loses me because of the Jesus story. God comes in to the form of a man and reveals himself through his creation.
Right.
So that to me tells me that God and man are indwelling in the same material world, and that there's something about this material world that's relevant and important enough that God would interact in it. Right. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing about this is all an illusion. Now, I guess, maybe it's that word illusion makes it sound like it's not important.
Or it makes it sound like it's not real.
Yeah.
It's an illusion. It's what you're seeing isn't what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
And I always say, like, you try to tell that to the rabbit who's in the wolf's mouth.
Right.
Yeah, it's all an illusion.
Yeah. How?
He's like, it'll be okay. You don't even exist.
Oh, and another thing I related to too at the beginning of that, he talks about like, I guess he was basically pitting Eastern culture versus Western culture.
Bro, wake up, dog.
Switch the camera lanes, man. Come on, bro.
You just press a button.
Yeah. No, but he is pitting, Western culture versus Eastern culture, and I really, from very limited, influences from the Eastern culture, I really can't, pit those two together. But being in the Western culture, I do get it where it's all about, like logical reasoning. Tangible things.
Yeah, evidence.
Evidence. Proof.
Yeah,
that kind of stuff, and it's and honestly, I think that, and I think today is a big proof of that thought process really leaving spirituality and the thought of God and something bigger than ourselves, like as an illusion itself. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's almost like if you do believe in God, you're almost like a fool.
Yeah, silly.
Yeah, it's like how you believe in, like, don't we already know that ain't You know, it'd be like praying to Zeus, or you know.
I've had people tell someone very close to me, my closest person to me, like, "Oh man, I thought you were smarter than that."
Right.
Made me feel some type of way. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Right. And so this is like kind of tapping into, like this thing can go anywhere. Right? You can talk about how, right? You can talk about how, like what's that? Where they look into like deep. They zoom in, and they can tell, and they can see like how things are moving, and science is like seeing that there's so much more. And so this is how I simplify it. You and I see there's a light spectrum. Okay. So there's like infrared,
right,
ultraviolet. There's a bunch of light in this room right now.
Right.
But our eyeballs only can see a portion of that light.
Right. It can only see what it can see.
Right. Now, if we put on a certain lens, we can see
everything
the infrared
different.
light, and the same thing with like sound, right? Like back in the day, you used to listen to a radio, and the radio would pick up radio waves. Well, you can't hear the radio wave; you need the radio to interpret the radio wave.
Right.
So there's a lot of stuff that we just right now, and you think of it in light. There's a lot happening in light that we're not privy to. Doesn't mean it's not existing.
Right. It's definitely there.
It definitely
we just can't
is there.
see it.
We just don't, in our naked eye, we're not able to measure it and see it.
Right.
Right. And that's kind of like what I feel like is a simplification of this, like a beginning to start unraveling this illusion concept.
Right.
It's to say that there are things going on that you're not always aware of because we are in this material world. And so there's more to it than what we may think. The other thing is, we talked about this in our Mystic Monday meeting this Monday.
Okay.
The reality of God, who is always revealing himself behind all appearance. The reality is God. So there's a thing called the chain of being. The chain of being is like an old art piece that essentially is God on top, angels, humans,
Yeah.
certain mammals.
Right.
Then you got like other lower level mammals. Then you got reptiles and fish. And so it's this chain of being. It creates this hierarchical thing. Right. And so then there's Paul Tillich when he talks about God being the ground of being. So the very essence of life is God. Right. So, but a lot of us have been influenced by this chain of being thinking.
At the top.
Hierarchical.
Right.
Right. And
Look
so,
up at them.
Yeah. Right. And so the example I always use is like if you have a boss and we were having a conversation, you would say your boss is above you. Right. But your boss's office might be right next to you.
Right.
He's not 3 floors up. He's on the same floor as you. But you would say he's above you because you're saying he's higher than you.
Right.
He's of a higher authority. So when we read in Christian scriptures and in Jewish scriptures, we see higher, God above, right? The Lord on high.
It's told the Most High.
The Most High.
Yeah.
We think in terms of this chain of being concept, linear, and we think up there.
Right.
But I don't think that's what it's getting at. And I don't take credit for that. That was N.T. Wright wrote that in one of his books. Right. He was much smarter than I'll ever be. But he talks about when we think high and God above, we literally think above.
Right.
But the thing that gets snapped in half is Christ's resurrection and ascension and the coming of the Holy Spirit. That God and man are no longer separate. That God dwells within you.
Inside.
Right.
So it's not looking up, it's you're looking in.
Right. We're not praying to a God outside of ourselves.
No.
We're praying to a God that's within us.
Inside of us, right.
Doesn't mean we are God before, people try to strip my reverend title.
Oh, now he's blasphemizing.
Right. So it's just something to think about. And I think, too,
cool.
like when you breathe in and you breathe out, like you said, the present moment.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, you always hear that old school sponsor saying, right? Where are your feet at?
Right.
Well, they're at the house. Okay. Then be at the house. But our magnificent magnifying mind will take us
everywhere but there. You are so far away, man.
right.
And just looking at that, the cover of that, right? I mean, there's a lot in that is would be seen as controversial.
Well,
Spiritually
when this book came out,
controversial.
meditation wasn't as popular as it
Yeah.
was. Came out in 92.
Right.
So Christians were still very much against meditation. They saw it as a form of
Like, don't meditate.
yes,
Pray.
right.
Because you don't know where them spirits will take you when you start meditating. That was told to me personally when speaking in church about the thought of meditation and like asking about that in Bible studies when I was younger. And it's still like that. I mean, people are traditional, man. People get spooked out by things that are different. But that right there, just putting that guy's put that the way just the look.
Yeah,
it's gonna turn people over.
But like he was a Benedictine monk.
Amen.
And he doesn't. If you read the book with an open mind, you find it.
That's it.
He is not blaspheming Christ. He is glorifying Christ over and over and constantly.
Open your minds.
Yeah.
People, open your minds. Okay, please. The more I took it as when he go. You said you read that he went to India to find the other side of himself. Right.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean he's going to go worship or do something, whatever.
Yeah.
He's finding himself, man. Yeah. You know what I mean? And what a great place to do some soul searching other than India, like the oldest beginning, one of the places where it has its own ancient culture and ways of doing things. So I love that.
Yeah. All right. That's what I got.
Good stuff, folks. That was the Mystic Moment. And when we come back after these messages, my brother is going to be sitting in the seat of service, and we're just going to cut up and chop things up a little bit and see where it goes, all right? After this.
Why Most High Media? Because I don't have the answers. Other people do. And learning from the experiences, the stories, the perspectives, seeing people who've been through the darkest of circumstances and then have come out of it on the other side and have lived extremely exciting, fulfilling lives and tapped into a way of being and a way of living, but it's actually real and obtainable, that's why.
We packed up to tell the story of a young lady who lost her daughter.
So there's a extremely high correlation between suicide, mental illness, and substance abuse.
Come on the ground. Come on the ground. Sir.
I think as of this year, there's about 14 million people in America who have a co-occurring disorder, and a little more than 7% of them seek help for it.
In my addiction, I felt like I was better off dead.
I'm here to talk about my daughter, Megan, who committed suicide when she was 28.
There's enough hope in the people that do recover to where I keep going and keep showing up at places where I'm needed.
Ain't no high like the most high. Ain't no high. Ain't no high like the most high. Ain't no high. Holla if you need some things like love and change. I'm not talking coins and things or diamond rings. Everybody wants some change, but don't nobody wanna do nothing till the pain they can't stomach. And they told me that I believed them, so I gave them to the. Everybody thought that I was tripping, saying that I be acting different. Ain't no high like the most high. Ain't no high like the most high. Ain't no high like the most high. Ain't no high. Ain't no high like the most high.
What's going on, folks? Welcome back. Welcome back. This is the Most High Show. Before we get to the meat of this program, though, I do want to show y'all. You see this bucket hat I'm wearing, man? Christian and I just got back from a kick-ass event with Eternal Strength out in Alpharetta, man. My brother Wes and Zach, man, they're doing big things over there. With I always mispronounce this word. Can you pronounce it?
What?
Experiential?
No, eternal strength.
No, I know eternal strength, but they're kind of
experiential therapy.
Experiential therapy, yeah, which is so cool. It has all kinds of art and singing and psychodrama. It's such a dope way to give people some help and get them over, whatever obstacles they're facing. It was a true family affair. So shout out to Wes and Zach, eternal strength. And now we are going to get to the meat. And my brother that went from the mystic guy to the brother sitting in the seat of service right now, because we had a guest that was unable to make it tonight. So it's you and me, bro.
Let's go.
You know what I mean? And man, I don't even know. The topic that you brought up for the Mystic Moment was so cool and so deep that I hope that we can follow it up with some interesting discussion on what I want to bring in. So I think this is like a common question in Christianity, I would say, okay? And a question that's always asked, and I think it's good in recovery too, because I'm sure if you're on the fence in your spirituality as well as your sobriety, I would imagine that this question has relevance too, okay? So, and I would call it the necessity of evil.
Damn.
Okay?
Just keep it light.
The necessity of bad and evil, because, and it's often talked about. I mean, that's a pretty popular discussion in, faith-based circles, they're talking about why do bad things happen? Why is there evil? If there's a God, why are, people dying, in really bad suffering type ways? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think about that a lot too, and even as this as we kick off this conversation, I sit in front of you, a man that is really whatever good comes from me that's something good that you can say about me is all about how my life changed from being really bad and being in the darkness. You know what I mean? And now, I've made some changes. I made, in my opinion, better choices. I feel like I'm walking towards the Lord instead of trying to hide from him. And it helped my sobriety. I do work a program that means the world to me. And all those things come from something, so it starts bad. And then they're like, oh, man, you're shining now because now you're good.
Yeah.
I believe your lessons in life come from the bad things that you experience.
Yeah.
For the most part. But then I don't want, then I think of slavery.
Yeah, right.
The Holocaust.
Right.
And really hardcore times of evil, that are even happening right now as we speak, So that's the topic.
Yeah, shit. Just real light stuff, light work, work.
And I want to tie in because I really think it's not going to be hard for us to transition this into or bring this into the world of recovery, because if you are an addict, I know where you're at, and that's not good. If you're in active addiction, it's not good, man. You're in a bad, dark hole of a place where you're lying, cheating, manipulating, using people, taking advantage of the ones. I mean, really bad shit. You know what I'm saying? And the idea is to stop that and make better decisions and do good things. So I think that ties into recovery.
Absolutely. Well, the first thing that comes to mind with that is, I think it's from the promises, right? We shall not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. Mm-hmm. That our past becomes our chief operator in us being of service to someone else. Mm-hmm. So in recovery, when you sit across the table from someone, when I sit across the table from someone and they start telling me about their stuff, I can make suggestions, but in that relationship, what works best is me to explain what I went through.
Yeah.
So then I start talking about the darkest moments of my life.
Right.
But the reason why the darkest moments of my life mean something is because I don't live that way no more. Right?
Right.
If I was still living that way and I'm telling you about it, well, that's just the story. There's no power in it. But because there was transformation, there's some power in it. So you know.
So yeah, that's what I mean. So like if the bad's never there,
Right.
where do you go?
Right.
Where is it, where is the power? If the evil things and bad things and however you want to paint it, the dark things, the failures, the lies,
Yeah.
the hurt. If those experiences are not going on, and that's the struggle of getting out of it and doing something I would consider better, active addiction, sobriety.
Yeah.
Sobriety, recovery, spirituality. Like that's a good, it's walking up the steps. It's walking up a ladder.
Right.
But you're starting somewhere that's definitely not good.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the thing about the Jesus story is, you don't ascend until you descend. Jesus just didn't hop, skip, and jump from Galilee to the throne.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like he had to die.
And not just like fall asleep, have his kids, have his holding hands and just like good night. I mean, it was a the most vicious that you could possibly think of way to perish.
So if that story is to inform us any here, the story is telling us that the death is a part of life. Mm-hmm. That the death was necessary for the ascension, right? And it's the same thing in nature, right? There's fires going on in California right now, right? And that's horrible destruction. People are losing their homes, and God forbid someone loses their life, or their pets or something like that, and that's horrible. But in fire in a forest, it's like reclaims the forest, and then everything that grows after that grows more lush. You know what I'm saying?
It's almost like Job.
Well, in every spring, everything pops up. But we don't see the flowers aren't just bloomed unless they've been modified in some way by a scientist somewhere.
Some kid hooking up some some shrooms or something like that. I can make these flowers.
But
just pop
even
right
in the
out.
seasons of winter, the trees lose everything, but it's still standing. It's still a tree.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and even in the night and the day, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like. You don't got to go far to see this yin and yang.
That's what I was thinking. The balance of
happening,
right?
Just look at nature. Jesus points at nature all the time. It's always pointing at the vines and the shepherds and the coexisting in nature, because you don't have to look far to see the death and rebirth in nature garden. Consistently happening, right? So why would we think our existence on this earth would be different?
Right.
While we are the exception, this man's hubris. We think we're above.
That happens down there to them.
Right.
But in our civil society,
yeah.
Why are these, horrible things happening? It's we're above it. But it's, in my opinion, it has to be, man. Suffering is a part of it all. And it's not that I don't want to say like I love suffering, but it's just like, to me, when somebody says, and this really sticks with me, my man Costa said this a while ago, that he's a grateful alcoholic. I mean, that is a statement to make, meaning thank God for all the stuff that he suffered from to put in his head in the place that it was at the time that he said that he was grateful.
Now, suffering, I like to break suffering into a category or two.
All right.
As a human, there is suffering, period. Can't escape it. Mm-hmm. However, there is a thing called unnecessary suffering. Mm-hmm. It's where you're suffering more than you necessarily have to.
You're putting yourself through, I think that's what you call abuse.
Yeah, it's self-abuse.
Yeah.
It's self-damnation. It's self-sabotaging.
That is a great point, man.
Yeah, and at the hands sometimes another person, right? People can be in abusive relationships or there's societies today that are living under dictatorships, right?
Yeah.
That's unnecessary suffering.
Life is a struggle in itself.
Right. So suffering is, to me, it's kind of broken into two categories. And when we see unnecessary suffering, as someone who has experienced freedom from unnecessary suffering, we have a duty. You and I would say we had a duty
Absolutely.
to go and alleviate the unnecessary suffering. Right?
To give some assistance to that, to stop and try our best to.
But then you start bitching about the rest of your stuff, and it's like, dude, sorry, bro, but there's a certain level of pain you're just gonna have as a human. Right? But
that's very real talk. That's very real, man. Yeah.
Yeah, all this extra shit though, you don't gotta go through that.
Yeah.
And that's the thing why we're doing what we're doing tonight. Right? We're trying to alleviate this unnecessary suffering in the world and community that we know and understand and know that we can be helpful in. Right?
Right.
I don't know what to do or how to be helpful in, these other areas.
Right.
But what do I know? And let me be helpful there.
Yeah, it just brings it. You saying that, the thing that popped into my head is, dealing with somebody that you assist in getting into a detox, right? Mm-hmm. They leave maybe being a vicious heroin addict, right? All jacked up, scarred up, got nothing. Who knows what they did to get the drugs, okay?
Right.
And they get into detox, and they're grateful. They go through that suffering to get them out of the detox, to be clean.
Yeah.
And then they get into, like a safe environment where they can focus on their sobriety, right? And that moment of time, once reality hits them in that moment, they're like, man, they're trying to rob me out of they charged me $275 a week. You know what I mean? So it's like, what happened to you, so much of that was unnecessary.
Yeah.
So we step in and help.
Right.
Then you get you to where you're actually facing life on life things, and they're like, oh, I think they're trying to get me. I'll just check it's like $250 or something. Right. I'm in arrears.
Right.
I'm like, bro, that's life. That's
15
regular.
days ago.
That's regular suffering.
Yes.
Bro. Yeah. And now you're about to leave?
Right.
For what?
Yeah.
You know what you looked like 2 weeks ago? So, it's a real that makes, to me, that's how I'm viewing what you're saying, like the unnecessary suffering and suffering, man, which is a part of life.
Right. And what causes unnecessary suffering, I would say there are some external factors, right? There might be family of origin stuff, right? There might be growing up in an alcoholic home or in an abusive environment or in an environment where, there's drugs and loose living kind of thing, right? And so it's easy and you kind of fall victim to that, right?
Yeah.
And then, you kind of pick up patterns and behaviors based on your environment.
Right.
And maybe you even internally you start to believe things like I'm not shit, I won't ever be anything. My dad wasn't anything, mom wasn't anything, I'm not going to be anything.
Right.
And so then the story starts playing, and then you start believing that story as reality, as true, and now you're living based on this thing that doesn't even exist. It's just you made it up in your head.
Right.
And now you're 10, 20 years, 30 years down the line and then someone shows up and says, oh, you don't have to live that way.
Yeah.
No, that's a story you've been telling yourself.
Right.
I used to live like you. That's the powerful. I used to be like that.
That's just like what you said. I have to give them, I got to relate to them and what I've been through.
Right.
And that's like the value of, I think that's like the value of, it kind of like swings me back around to this whole thing because, if you didn't experience the things that, I guess it would be like unnecessary suffering. If you didn't go through that and pull yourself out of that unnecessary darkness, the lies that were told to you, or how you were influenced in negative aspects of your life. What made you think that way? What makes you, how can you relate to this dude is going through such a rough time, right? It's but the necessity of that is saving another. That's how it's necessary. Like what you've been through is actually saving somebody's life now.
Yes. Now that's the thing. Let me just say, and then you brought this up, and this is the thing. Like I don't know a lot about God.
Yeah.
But I do know that God doesn't waste pain.
Oh.
I know that.
I love
that. I know when it comes to human pain, God never wastes your pain, and God never lets you suffer alone. You may not acknowledge it, you may not see it, but God is always with us in the pain, and God always redeems our suffering if we surrender to it.
Amen.
That's the thing about a life with a higher power, God.
Listen,
Christ.
people, are you listening? Are you listening?
And dude, I mean, this is why the Jesus story is still relevant to me, is because that shows up in the Jesus story.
Yeah.
You know, if pass this cup, if I ain't got to take this cup, you know, sweating in the Garden of Gethsemane, sweating blood. Look, I ain't got to take it. Just, if there's another way.
Yeah.
Ain't no other way. This is
you got to go through this.
And so there's no way. That was necessary suffering, right?
Mm-hmm.
Takes his necessary suffering. You know, and then the ascension afterwards, the resurrection afterwards. The resurrection ain't nothing without the cross, right?
Amen. Nope.
The cross, the death on display for everyone to see.
Yeah.
The whole thing is like showing to us. It's like Richard Rohr calls Jesus the archetype for humanity, and so he's resetting things, right? And that's why it's so brilliant. Whether you believe it or not, dude, just read it for what it is.
It's an amazing thing.
It's teaching and telling us something about what suffering is, why suffering, and what can happen after suffering, right?
Whoa.
That coming back. And this is what Jesus teaches us is, you know, he shows up. One of the first things he says to his disciples is, you got anything to eat? Not, y'all left me up on the cross.
Yeah.
What the hell? You just, you know, you got anything to eat? Immediately, let's just fellowship.
Let's get down. Let's sit down.
Yeah, it's also doing another thing. It's proving that he was in a physical form, right? But also, he's teaching us how to handle suffering.
What like the ultimate life lesson in that right there?
This is how you handle
how to
suffering.
deal with it.
This is how you
how
handle
do you deal
being
with
a
life.
victim.
It's how you handle dealing with the struggles
He could
of
have
life.
came up, they did me wrong. Did you see what they did?
Yeah.
They let that dude Barabbas go.
Yeah.
You see that, man? They did
Look
me
at
dirty.
yourselves.
But he teaches us how to handle suffering, how to be a victim. Teaching us, showing us that, dude, he took it and then he kept it moving. Jesus wasn't no punk, bro.
Amen. Nah.
This little daintily, you know, throwing the peace sign up. That was like,
nah.
That ain't him. He teaches how to suffer. That's why the Christian story, I think, is still relevant today and how it can be helpful to us.
There is
today.
no story on how to deal with life. I mean, that's one man showing you in the most toughest conditions, man.
Yeah.
Well, you know, he is like done in by society through and through.
Oh, yeah. It was the moral majority.
Gives nothing but love.
Yeah.
The whole time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's just wronged and wronged and wronged.
Right.
And then not only does he get dissed by all these people that he's like dying for, hey, tear him up in the process, man.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
So you know, whether you don't got to be a religious person or a Christian to see the value in the Jesus story. The
Amen.
Jesus story tells us this is how you, and look, at you and I both know men and women who have recovered, and they have a certain strength to them. Mm-hmm. They've shed the victim mindset.
Right.
Right.
They traded in for accountability.
Yeah. Okay. What's my part?
Yeah.
Let's handle
What
this.
do I got to do with this?
Let's deal with it.
How can I make it better?
You can tell, you know, when I worked with Steve Harvey and them, my manager and friend David told me early on. He said, "Look, because I was trying to get out of accountability on something because it was complex and it wasn't really all my fault, but it was kind of my area."
Right.
He said, "Look, Christian, all you gotta do is just take responsibility. You take responsibility, even if it ain't all your fault. They will back up off you and let you fix it."
That's a freaking great lesson too, right there.
And
bro.
dude, I tried it. All right, dude. All right, David. What do you say? His name was David too. And so
it's like the guy the other night. My doppelganger.
Yeah. So I tried it. I said, "Okay, dude, let me try it." And something came up, and it wasn't all my fault, and it was complex. And I just said, "I don't know what happened, but don't worry about it. I'm gonna fix it. I'll figure it out what happened." Okay, cool. Backed up. Next time I saw him, it was all good. They ain't even worried about it no more because I owned it. Yeah. What they had no patience for was it wasn't my fault. It wasn't,
because this happened because see he was over here, I was standing right here, but then he moved over there.
Right.
That blame. That's a topic in itself right there.
Because they're moving. They're like, dude, we managing TV shows and radio shows and events, and we doing commercials and. Like, just get it fixed.
Yeah, because you ain't in court trying to get to the bottom of anything.
No.
Right? In life, you're not like stating your case or, hey, it'd be much better as hey, you ain't an angel in all this in any part of your life.
Yeah.
So man up, right?
Yeah.
And see what you can do about it.
But isn't that what we do, right? We're like little lawyers running around.
Yeah.
Pleading our case.
Well, yeah, because, see, okay, listen.
Justifying.
I was doing my best.
Yeah. What you're not going to do is blame me.
No, I know what I was doing. I was right the whole time.
Someone's got to be right.
I said it like this. I didn't raise my voice.
Someone's got to be wrong.
I didn't raise my voice. I was talking just like this. And then she just blew up. I had to leave.
And then I'm right here with you, Jesus. I don't know what happened.
I said, "Oh, you madman."
Yeah, so like we like just justifying and and that's kind of like with the mystic moment, right? Like we're so caught up, and someone's got to be right, someone's got to be wrong. It's not my fault. It's your fault. You did it. I
feel like that might be a very, not that I can really compare and contrast because, like I said, I've had very limited like influence on like Eastern culture, but I know like the dudes seem Dalai Lama type cats over there and like Buddhist monks and Hindus and all the other spiritualities that are depicted as Far East culture and spirituality. I don't know if it's like everybody's fighting to be right over there like we are over here.
Right. When in seminary, when we studied Buddhism, I had a real hard time getting it.
Yeah.
And it's because I have a Western mindset. I think in binary, dualistic terms, good and bad, right and wrong.
No gray.
Right. Tell me when I'm doing it right. And I love my laws and my rules.
Right.
And then you go to look at an Eastern philosophy, religion, way of living, and it's like it's not operating with those same constraints. Yeah. So I had to get a book by Thich Nhat Hanh called Living Buddha, Living Christ. And Thich Nhat Hanh kind of like parallels the two and meshes them together. He calls Jesus Lord. He recently passed away, a Buddhist monk, opened up a thing called Plum Village in France. Yeah. Very influential interfaith.
Is that what the app comes from?
Plum Village?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's and even now I still don't understand. Right, like
it's hard to grasp it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm reading a book right now on the 12 Steps and Buddhism, and when he's saying things, I'm going, okay, I kind of know that term now. I kind of understand that. I mean, dude, a dream of mine is to go. There's a guy on YouTube who went and lived at a temple in Thailand and practiced Tai Chi with a Tai Chi master. Lived out there. And he documents his whole travel.
And now he's floating over walls. Yeah. No, I'm sorry.
But like to be immersed, it's like I want to be immersed in that because there's something there. I had a conversation with Adam Bromwich. You know Adam. Mm-hmm. And Adam's always like, he's way into all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Cool dude.
Yeah.
Shout out Adam.
Shout out Adam.
Shout out to Adam, man.
But sometimes like he talks about this illusionary and it's just a stillness and I always just kind of go, all right, dude, like I don't know.
Because it's hard.
I don't know how to take that.
Right.
How does that help me?
Yeah,
Right?
because it's almost I can feel everything just like separating into, just floating, and I can't grab none of it when it goes way.
Right.
Even those pages you just read, I'm like, okay, let me try to tighten this up, see if I can get a hold of this. I'm easily taken, because of, I guess, my Western culture type of upbringing. It being a dualistic good and bad. It's hard for me to, and I consider myself an open-minded dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's hard to crack that shell open.
Yeah, I mean, and you like the documentary American Spirit that's on there.
Oh, loved it.
Right, and we tackle this
Oh,
topic.
the duality part of that is really cool.
Yeah.
Watch that American Spirit, Most High app.
Yeah.
Turn that on.
And because we exist in that kind of, we're like, America is one of the most litigious societies on the planet.
Give me a definition.
Meaning we go to trial more than anybody else. We have like more lawyers per capita than any other country. So I've been told.
I believe that.
Yeah.
And they're making fat money.
Right. So we are in our society is in that kind of thing. Like, you did me wrong. I'm going to sue you and take you to court. And then this person sitting up there is going to say, yep.
And that person's Johnny Depp.
Yeah. Johnny Depp, who's going to play a judge in this next movie. That'd be brilliant. It's like, I think you're guilty. And so someone's wrong, someone's right.
Yeah.
So we're existing in that thing. So then when you come to a question like, why suffering? Why do bad things happen? You can't answer that question with right or wrong, good and bad. You can't just go, this is why. And when you attempt to, you lessen someone's reality of their suffering.
Yeah.
You pontificate and ideologize the whole thing. It's not real anymore.
Right.
And so you have to dig that and unpack that and live that. And that's the thing about, I think as we continue on this path, and you said it, right? Sobriety, recovery, spirituality.
Yeah.
Right. And you keep growing spiritually. There's a concept Richard Rohr says, which is everything belongs.
Oh.
Everything belongs.
Yeah.
He said, well, I don't know why everything belongs.
Right.
Like these horrible things like rape and murder and mass genocide and these things. And maybe it exists for us to respond to it in kind and in love. But if it didn't, if it wasn't meant to be here, it wouldn't exist.
Right.
So on some level that we don't understand,
Right.
that's a problem for us.
Yeah.
There's more
It's
to
outside,
the story
yeah.
that we don't understand.
Right. You can't show it to me?
I went to school for this.
Yeah.
You say I still don't
What's
understand?
the hypothesis of it? Yeah. No, that's good, man. And, I think, man, you saying, like God doesn't waste your pain is valuable. And that's some that gives reason, hardline reason for why things happen, good or bad. Like I said, when you live a life with Jesus, he is like the ultimate, put you back on track no matter what happens, because you're constantly off the track. But, asking for his will to be done sincerely pops you back on the track for a little while. Until
Ask
you make the next
and then
mistake.
surrender.
Yeah.
Right. We ask for his will, and then we just make up shit as we go along and talk about that was his will. The Lord.
I feel like the Lord told me.
Yeah. No, man, I think this is I really appreciate this conversation. I like kind of going back and forth. It feels like natural. And this is the stuff we talk about.
This
when
is
we're
it.
driving in the car
This is
to
it.
the event to do a screening in Mariposa.
Yeah.
These kind of conversations we have. Maybe there's
Exactly.
some other stuff in there
Yeah.
too, but we talk about these
more
things.
cussing probably.
We think about these things. We're contemplating
Yeah.
these things, and because we're seekers. And I think there's this guy, Sad Guru. You seen him? He's really popular. And, he was on Joe Rogan's.
He is the guru now.
Yeah. He was saying that, there's kind of levels, right? There's the seeker level. There's those of us who are seeking for the truth. It's things like illusion and why suffering and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's for those of us who are really trying to understand this thing.
Right.
And you and I would say we're trying to understand it so that we can be more helpful, so that we can be relieved of the bondage of self, right? And if thinking everything is an illusion or believing everything is an illusion helps us relieve the bondage of ourselves so that we can be more useful to our God and our people, then that's what we're going to do, right?
Yeah.
But not everybody is a seeker.
Right. Give me some other titles.
Well, some people, they just want to end the unnecessary suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And after that's done, they're good.
Right.
Right? There's some people, I know I don't want to say their name, but like I envy those kind of people because the unnecessary suffering is gone and then they're just free.
They're all right.
You know, it's like those posts on Instagram, people are like, recovery, since I got sober, everything's great. And I'm just thinking, shit, what am I doing wrong?
I mean, I love my life
great for you.
dealing
Good
with
for
it, but
you.
it's not rainbows, bro. I mean, it's hard, but and you know, again, you know, I love going through life struggles right now and who I am today, and it's hard, man. Like, there's a lot of stuff.
Look, life is a lot better without cocaine.
Yeah.
But it's not perfect because I quit cocaine.
No.
It's not like now that I'm not.
There's a reason you
dope,
took the cocaine in the first place.
Right.
Something happened.
Yeah. and that to me is what makes me alcoholic.
Yeah.
The fact that I don't need a substance to ruin the day.
Right.
My thinking and my selfishness can do it all by itself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Before
That's a topic
anything
for next week.
Yeah, before anything, the insanity before picking up. Yeah. You know what I mean? Dude, thank you, bro.
What's up, bro? Appreciate it.
Man, I love it, man. I really do, man. People, this was an episode of the Most High Show. My brother, the Reverend Christian Jansen, was able to sit down here after a cool ass event we went to. I just can't say more about that. Wasn't that the coolest shit ever, dude? Cool, that was awesome, dude. You know, we hung out, our families hung out together for a while today with other families, and we fellowshipped in a very beautiful way through creativity and art, and it was just a blast. You know, and then after that, we are living such a blessed life in recovery that we're able to sit down with all this cool ass equipment, all this electric lights and all this shit, and talk about cool subjects that are interesting to us, all with the hopes of giving hope to you.
And there's several, let me just interject.
Hello.
There are several people who aren't even ever going to crack the mic, who will never be in front of the camera, who have made all this possible.
Yes.
Who donate money.
Yes.
On a consistent basis.
Thank you.
Because they believe in what we're doing and they want to help end other people's unnecessary suffering too.
Yeah, and you'll never see them. And they, like Christian said, they donate on a consistent basis because they believe in helping and they believe what the Most High Show is doing in ending the stigma and helping people get to recovery and stay in recovery and, like, you know, deal with the struggles of life and spirituality and all those cool questions that we ask. And somebody sits in here every week, man, and tells you their story, and, like, man, what a vulnerable thing to, like, be honest about that and attempt to give us some good stuff off of that. So listen, there is an app. It's called the Most High app. Download Most High Media in your Play Store. Or what does the cool Apple people do? What is their thing?
App Store.
App Store. I got an Android, man, but you know, the Most High app, you can get it. It's on every platform. The show's on every platform. We got documentaries. We got a series. We got docu-series. We got reality shows. We got spirituality, and we got topics like duality. We have the steps. We have people's, like, telling, man, giving up real stuff, man. And it's all in the name of, like, living a life in recovery, living soberly, understanding that, you know, like, life is good today. Why? Because I ain't freaking pick up, bro. You know, I ain't got a needle in my arm no more. I ain't wasted and not doing nothing with my life. I'm a father today. I love my kids. My kids in the next room with my brother's family over here, and it's a beautiful thing, bro. Life in sobriety is awesome. Download the app. Thank you for watching The Most High Show. Later.
Peace. Yeah, you can tell both.